Fargo-Moorhead will be partly cloudy overnight. Low of about 30 degrees. We hit 52 at our KFGO studios this afternoon. Again, 30 overnight, partly cloudy. Tomorrow, a partly sunny day, high near 44 degrees. Thursday, clouds, chance of flurries 34, near 30, mostly cloudy for Friday. 26 with a mostly cloudy sky on Saturday, partly sunny Sunday, and 30. Fargo-Moorhead, partly cloudy, 51. Paul Dirkson, News Radio KFGO.
Mighty 790 KFGO, good afternoon, and welcome back to The Drive. KFGO time coming up on 4:11. I'm Dan Michaels. Paulie Lyons is our producer, and you just heard Paul Dirkson in the KFGO News Center. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We do this once a month. We check in with the chief. We check in with the Fargo Fire Department Chief, Steve Dirkson, on all things going on with the Fargo Fire Department and beyond. And Steve Dirkson joins us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Chief. How you doing today?
Hey, Dan, I'm doing all right. How are you today?
Good to hear. I'm sure most people want to start right here, and I already warned him I was going to go down this road. But, Steve, shortly after, right around when we were supposed to talk last month, I gave you a call, and you said that you weren't feeling very well. You had COVID, and we ended up talking to one of your assistant chiefs. So everybody wants to know, how did that go, and how are you feeling now?
Well, I'm saying that, now I'm back to, I would say, 95%, just trying to get rid of a few of the little lingering things that came along with it, a little cough and that kind of stuff. But, we had a week that I didn't feel real great, and a couple days that I felt less than a little great. And but we got through it all right, and, moving along. And so we're just thankful that it wasn't any more serious than what it was.
I have spies around you that told me that you were very, very sick, Steve. Can you tell me what your symptoms were?
Sure. It was a lot of fatigue, body ache, those kind of things. Just not being able to focus for a while. I tried to work on something and just couldn't get my brain to engage. Some people said that happens to me all the time, but just some of those things, just couldn't get her going. The body ache was probably one of the bigger things. A day or so of chills and fever, but I a number of years ago I was had pneumonia and influenza, and I was much sicker than I was this time.
Okay, well that's a good way to look at it, I guess, from that point of view. You have any idea where you picked it up, Steve?
I have no clue. We're pretty good about everything that we do. We really only go to about 4 or 5 places here in town besides work, home, and the gas station, the grocery store, and maybe 1 or 2 other places. But we mask up, we wash our hands, we got sanitizer in every vehicle, and my wife and I were never told by anybody that we were a close contact. So don't really know where it came from.
Well, we're sure glad that you are on the other side of it, and you say you're feeling about 95% now?
Yep. I feel pretty good. Been back at work for since well before Thanksgiving, and working regular days just like before. So,
are the guys giving you some good-natured static?
Oh, absolutely. I would expect nothing less.
Well, good.
Because they'd probably get it from me.
Well, that's a sign that things are back to normal when everybody starts giving you a bad time again.
That's right.
Fire Chief Steve Dirkson of the Fargo Fire Department, Fargo's bravest, is joining us. We do this every month when we check in with the chief. And, Chief, I got to tell you, I've been just shaking my head. There have been some pretty good fires going, but the thing that just won't go away are these balcony fires.
Yeah, we a number of years ago, we had, probably 40 of them in a year. And then we really had a concerted campaign and worked really hard with the apartment owners groups and things like that. And they were talking with their tenants, and we really knocked that number down quite a ways. And then all of a sudden here this fall, we've had a couple, 3, 4 of them a couple of them got bigger than normal. But that really took off and caused a lot of damage. So that's just a big reminder for folks that you got to really pay attention to what you're doing and where you're putting out cigarette butts and those kind of things.
And that is a good point that you bring up. And the more we harp about it, the more I'm sure we turn people off about it. But I mean, come on, put your cigarette out completely out, douse it with water. I mean, I totally understand, but at the same time, put the thing out. I live in South Fargo, and I'm just not too far off 15th Street, and there was a fire off 27th Avenue and 15th Street a year or two ago in an apartment. It was the same thing. It was a balcony deal, and I bet Steve, I bet those guys were closed for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, it gets to be a lot of damage, and most of them, the last two major ones that we had, happen at night, so people aren't seeing them right away, and we've had two very significant losses in the community where those buildings will be out of commission for quite some time and displaced a large number of our citizens.
So you're displacing people. The cost is enormous. And how about the firefighters that you put in potential jeopardy, all because you couldn't put your cigarette out? I mean, we're smarter than that, Steve. We're better than that.
Yeah, we have to be, and people always, every year we'll do our annual report, and I'll get people calling me and asking me, Chief, what's the biggest cause of fire? And everybody's looking for me to say, well, electrical or cooking or something. I said, there's three main causes of fire, and it's men, women, and children. It's because it's one of those three groups that are not using something in the way that it was intended that usually starts a fire.
Yeah.
I remember as a young firefighter when I started down in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, we had an old, what used to be an alarm box that hung on the streets, and that's how they notified the fire department. Well, inside there, they said open to see the cause of fire, and inside there was a mirror. And that's always stuck in my head is that when you open it up, it's you. Fire, electricity stays generally within the wire unless we act upon it, whether we drive a nail through it or run a screw through it or don't maintain it quite the right way or do something and change how that works. Cooking, we don't pay attention. We don't put a cigarette butt out. Don't use an appliance the way it was supposed to or a tool the way it was supposed to. Don't maintain those things. Generally, those are the reasons why, and that's a human factor that's at the cause of these things.
We're being joined by Fargo Fire Chief Steve Dirkson of Fargo's Bravest, the Fargo Fire Department. We're checking in with the chief. I tell you what, that fire the other day at that antique shop just off downtown, Chief, boy, that thing just kind of kept coming and coming, and you guys ended up being a 3-alarm fire or something? Yeah,
that ended up being a 3rd alarm fire, which in Fargo, that means we've had everybody that's working that day was there, and we called back a shift. We called back all the chief officers. We called Moorhead to come in, and we called West Fargo to come in and help us. So, all total, we probably had close to 70 people there Saturday afternoon and into the evening working to put that fire out.
Why? Why was it so brittle?
There's a lot of things in there. It's the building, the way it was constructed did cause us some issues. Things that are inside there, that were stored in there. I don't know exactly what was all in there because I hadn't been in the building myself, so I can't tell you what was in there. But a lot of times, if there's different things piled in there, they start to burn and they burn hot, and it gets difficult to get through just because of the nature and the construction of the building.
Yeah, and all those old things that are in there and et cetera. I'm sure they're trying to figure out the cause. We haven't got an official cause of that fire, have we?
No, and I wouldn't anticipate one for a while. I mean, we've done some of our preliminary looking, but there's going to have to be further investigation. We've part of the roof collapsed in an area that we want to take a look at, but that's going to take time for us to get in there and really sift through that and work with. We're not the only ones that are interested in that. There's other groups that are interested in helping. The owner figure out what's going on. So
that's such a shame too. What a unique shop that was. Is it a total loss?
And from my estimation, the building is. The walls are leaning in. A large portion of the roof is gone. So, I don't. There's probably no chance to rebuild that building.
Well, it was a unique place, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
when we were sitting there looking out at dates to schedule checking in with the chief, the reason we had scheduled this date was because we were going to talk about Christmas safety, and we still are, but I mean, there's just been so many other things going on. And that leads us to another recent fire, though, in North Moorhead, where that mobile home caught fire related to a Christmas tree, and the lights that were on that Christmas tree, they lost their home, which is a whole different tragedy. But, Chief, that takes us into talking about Christmas safety and being careful with your lights.
Yeah, we, this is a time of year that we like to decorate and light things up and show our light around our community. And, the big thing is if we have Christmas trees, we want to make sure that we're using, good quality UL tested lights that are strung together no more than what the manufacturer recommends. They all have different recommendations, so I don't want to say you can only hook 2 links together or 5 or whatever it is. It's all developed by the manufacturer and what they've tested it for. But you want to check them for being frayed, exposed wires, those kind of things. We want to watch if you have a live Christmas tree or a real Christmas tree, I should say. They're no longer live when you cut them down, but they'll dry out, so we want to make sure they're watered and taken care of and disposed of as soon as Christmas is over, so that they don't dry out and cause more of a problem in the house. This time of year, it's really popular for them to have candles and those kind of things. So we want to watch that, especially if you have pets in the home, small children. All of those kind of things cause issues. So. Yeah, we just really want to make sure that folks take care and pay attention to what's happening.
When you first get that, if you get a real Christmas tree, from years of experience, I can say this: you're so excited, it's so fun, it smells so great, and everything. But putting water in that thing every day, all the way through the time you take that tree down, gets to be a drag. And I think that's where we all go a little bit wrong, Steve, is we all get a little complacent.
Yep, I would agree 100%. And one thing I would encourage people to think about is if you are going to have a real tree, figure out how it's going to be the easiest for you to water it every day. Whether that's getting a hose with some type of a pump that you can just leave the hose into the pan or the tree stand there and just pump water through that hose, just so it's easier for you to do it. That way, the likelihood of you doing it and remembering to do it, because remember, we're only doing this for 30, 40 days, and it's not part of our normal routine. So we want to do things that make it easier for us to remember.
Absolutely, and my wife is not going to like the garden hose going through the living room from the kitchen if I do the hose thing. So I'm just going to have to remember to water that rascal.
Yeah, well, hide it under the rug.
And Chief, on the way out of here today, I got laughed off the stage when I brought this up with a Christmas tree expert, I think it was last week. Have you ever heard of when you first bring the tree home, mixing a little 7-Up in the water, that you're feeding the tree? Have you ever heard of that, or maybe some sugar?
I have never heard of that little trick. That's
I don't think that's really a trick. I think I'm the only one so far that has ever done that, me and my family. So
does it work?
Well, it worked all the time when I was growing up, and et cetera, and when I've had my own tree. But apparently, I'm doing something wrong because.
Yeah, I would watch out for the dog or the cat wanting to drink the water. So.
Yeah, or her climbing the thing. That'll bring her down. Well, Steve, thanks so very, very much. What are you doing for the holidays? Just you and the wife staying here, being quiet?
No, the kids are going to come, and we're going to celebrate it with our kids and our grandkids, and have a nice Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and it's nice that it's at the end of the week so that we can kind of all get together. So.
Well, I hope you do. Be COVID-free now that you've had it. You've got that experience. Be careful during the holiday season. We're going to have to get together and book some dates for 2021 and get ready for more checking in with the chief.
Hey, that sounds great, Dan. I appreciate it, and I wish you and all your listeners a Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas to you, too. Thanks so much, Steve.
Yep.
Fargo Fire Department Chief Steve Dirkson of Fargo's bravest, the Fargo Fire Department, checking in with the chief. KFGO time 424. You're listening to The Drive on the Mighty 790 KFGO.
Let me stand next to your fire.
Gone Outdoors with Brewer and Agri, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on the Mighty 790.